Support comes from Thomas Nelson Community College, now becoming Virginia Peninsula Community College, the first choice to start a bachelor's degree since tuition is one-third the cost of four-year schools. More at tncc.edu.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Another View producer Lisa Godley, filling in for Barbara Ham-Lee. Today, we're looking at several programs designed to combat some of the biggest problems we battle in the African American community: teen violence, the high dropout rate among college students, and the alarmingly high number of inmates who, once released, return to prison. Please join us for today's Another View as we discuss the DNIMAS program at Norfolk State University that's keeping students in school, the Step Up program combating recidivism, and the Crown Project tackling teen violence. If you have questions, please give us a call at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Another View will be right back after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRV News.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Another View producer Lisa Godley, filling in for Barbara Ham-Lee. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you about something that should make you smile, particularly if you've been struggling with these excessive gas prices. Grove Church, and full disclosure, that is my church, is offering a gas giveaway come April 2nd. From 8 a.m. until 1 p.m., Grove is making a $20,000 community investment of fuel. They're asking you to make sure you get there early. No registration or sign up is required. There is a gas giveaway, and it will take place at the Exxon Tiger Mart, 5830 High Street West in Portsmouth, Virginia. Now, if you don't need this, make sure, we want to make sure that the folks that really need this, their children may not be getting the food that they need, or they may be, struggling to get to work. So, if you really don't need it, make sure somebody else that really does and can benefit from this can benefit from it. But it will take place April 2nd at the Exxon Tiger Mart on High Street in Portsmouth. Getting into today's conversations, the numbers aren't just alarming, they're heartbreaking. The number of Black teens dying in the streets is growing, and most often it's at the hands of other Black teens. Meanwhile, if a young person graduates from high school and gets into college, according to the United Negro College Fund, the odds of them staying in school and graduating is only 46%. Another alarming stat: while Blacks make up 13% of the U.S. population, we account for 33% of the prison population. And once released, 1 out of every 2 will likely end up back behind bars. To quote the late, great Marvin Gaye, it makes you want to holler. And while these numbers are difficult to hear, the situation is not hopeless. And today you're going to meet some folks working diligently to turn things around. At Norfolk State University, the DNIMAS program not only offers scholarships to ease the financial burden that so many African American students face, but works with students from their freshman year through graduation and prepares them for advanced degrees. Joining us is the executive director, Dr. Aliecia McClain. Dr. McClain, thank you so much for joining us in today's Another View.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, that revolving door that so many former inmates face is opening less frequently thanks to programs like Step Up. The executive director, Sandra Brandt, is here to share all this program has to offer. Sandra, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And finally, the new kid on the block, the Crown Project, which addresses the issue of youth violence. Reverends Primus Paige and Reverend Travis Barnes. Well, I want to say welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And gentlemen, I'm going to start with you because usually when people outside of a government agency take on something so huge like teen violence, it's personal. So what got you involved in this project?
First, Lisa, thank you for having us on the program. The start or what really kind of sparked this desire to make this type of impact or to start this particular program was really because around 2004 to about 2005, when I came back from college, I had the opportunity to see the power of the community work from the way I was able to get employed at Compostela Elementary. My fifth grade teacher was now principal at Compostela Elementary. And so when I was looking for gainful employment, she said, bring them to me. And so I began to work at Compostela Elementary, and I got to have the opportunity of working with some of the most passionate, energetic children that I've ever met who were in this area where violence was very frequent. Fast forward to now, some of those young people that I had the opportunity to teach that came through my computer lab or came through our STEM program, I see them on the news. And maybe the predicament is not always in the positive side. It may be in the particular stance where they are either dead or they are being arrested for some sort of violence. And it began to bother me. When you feel a passion about something, it's hard to sleep. And I got up one day and I just started thinking, what if we had a program that took all of the resources that surrounded that particular community and tied them together so they were focused at these recreation centers and these private recreation centers that our children frequent. And so when I began to write it down, the writing didn't stop. And I shared it with my friend and my fellow brother in the ministry, and we just began to dream and think about all of the different types of programs and the different types of people that we would need to make this program come to pass. And that's basically the foundation. That was the trigger, just to see students that I knew by name and to see their name on the news or see their name in the newspaper because of some sort of trauma or tragic situation that they were either involved in or they were the victim of.
Yeah, the numbers are just so alarming and just so heartbreaking. I was doing a little bit of research and was saying Black men and boys between the ages of 15 and 34 make up just 2% of the population, but account for 37% of the gun homicides.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's 20% higher than their white counterparts. It's heartbreaking.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing once you get the kids in there? What's happening to deter them from following their peers who might be a little more violent and, encourage them to do something that they shouldn't be doing?
Absolutely. Once again, thank you for having us. The one thing that we look at is relationships. That's the key part of any child or anybody, any young person's age, and all of us really as human beings. We look for relationship. Because the first thing they're going to do is when you come in there, they're going to know if you're fake or if you're real about what you're doing. And so one thing is this getting to know who they are, just see them for who they are, not what we've been told. Then the second thing about is exposure, getting them to exposed outside of what they've always known. And then the consistency, continuing to keep the promise that you're going to come tomorrow or you're going to come next week. Keeping that consistency and that promise of what we do. And so we establish these programs, Mental Monday. We establish Arts and Recreation Tuesday. We have these things, community empowerment, these things that have meaning to them that helps us build this relationship with them to show and get them exposed to other things than what they may have seen at home or what they see in the community. That's always may have been violence or drugs or whatever the case may be, but to kind of change and work their minds and get their minds rolling outside of what they're used to. And that's the key component into keeping them and helping them understand and be committed to what this is all about.
Are there any activities that seem to resonate better with the groups than others?
Well, once again, we're in a pilot stage right now. However, I would say arts and recreation will always be the fun piece, but exposure will get a big response because once again, I get to go to Virginia Beach, you'll be amazed about how many kids haven't been to Virginia Beach, how haven't been to Town Center, or even if they go to right down in Nauticus sometimes. Sometimes there's areas right here in Norfolk that are beautiful places that they haven't been able to expose.
I think the average person takes that for granted, and
Absolutely.
they assume, that
Absolutely.
that opportunity is there, and it absolutely is not. Dr. McClain, I'm going to shift over to you a little bit because we're talking about opportunities.
Okay.
And what is the biggest challenge facing college students when they come in? Because for that number to be so low, only 46% graduating. What is happening? Is it the money? They can't quite continue to pay for it? Is it they're just not prepared for those college level courses, or is it something I know well, the social life? When you're in school and you're trying to balance the party over here and getting your work done. So
yes, I thank you for having me as well. I think some of the barriers that kind of causes students not to finish college is really coming from high school, not knowing exactly what the expectations are. I think our teachers are doing a well job in trying to prepare them from school for college experiences, but it depends on the amount of resources that is available at that school for the student to become well prepared in that particular discipline or career field that they're desire at the college level. So sometimes when they come in, that transitioning piece where you're at home, you're giving, a task and assignments and things of that nature, as to when to wake up, go to school, catch the bus, have you done your work, those types of things, till you coming into an environment where no one, taps you to wake you up to go to class and things of that nature. So professors expect you, because you met the requirements to enter college, then they're expecting you to follow the set guidelines and rules of a college student to get up, come to class prepared to learn, and move forward. But the main piece is most of our students are first generation students. And as a result of that, they don't have the funding capabilities. About 85% of them are employed and they're working full-time jobs, carrying a heavy load. On top of the social activities that goes on with school. So there's a balancing act that they have to try to figure out how to balance the academic or the fun side. And if there's no one in their ear to tell them, to pull them to go to the library and go study, then they will stick to what is known and comfortable to them. And so you tend to get more of that. And so with faculty and administration trying to reach out to students to encourage them to come get their help through resources, through tutoring and mentoring, and going to make relationship with faculty in office hours, it becomes cumbersome sometimes because students are on their devices. So the day-to-day interaction that we grew up in, our generation, where we, had conversations with people face to face. And so them coming into your office and saying the word, I need help, can be a difficult task for them to do. And therefore they prefer to not, speak up, and then they tend to falter. But one of the things that we do in the DNIMAS program at Norfolk State University, we bring students in, as an interim freshman, because in STEM fields, math is the core for all the sciences that they are involved with. So as a result, we bring them in, transition those group of students in. They do an enrichment course, and then they take a math placement test, and then they are able to begin their curriculum in the calculus-based curriculum, which they are their curriculum is designed upon. And so by having one-on-one interaction with that group of students, we're able to mentor them through the process.
Okay, I'm going to get you to clip your mic on. It's making some extra.
Okay.
That's great. Now, it's interesting because this is a STEM program, and I've mentored a lot of kids over the years, and a lot of them will tell me, oh, math and science is just not my thing. Give me anything else to do but math and science. So when they come into the DNIMAS program, are they already deciding that this is what their field is, or do you do things to kind of steer them in that direction?
They come in already decided that this is what they want to do, and our job is to make them remain in that career goal, because once they get there, they realize that it's not as easy or as simple as it was in high school, and it requires a lot more drive and commitment to reach the goal, in the STEM areas. So we provide them with the mentoring, the tutoring, the academic environment. So we're really hands-on with those students that participate in the DNIMAS program. And those students, some other key features is that they participate in undergraduate research. They go away for the summer doing internships. The curriculum is already designed and prepared for them to finish college in 4 years, and usually that doesn't happen with students in STEM fields. So we, went out and talked to other colleges and universities as to finding out how should we prepare these group of students if they're coming to your institution, what courses and what things they need to know. And so the faculty that we have are committed to the learning for those group of students. And as a result, they finish their curriculum in 4 years. They do internships during the summer, and then they go on to graduate and professional school, immediately after graduating.
And you have some of your successful folks that are already calling in, and we're going to get to them in a minute, but I want to shift gears just a bit and talk to Sandra a little bit about recidivism, and the numbers there are really alarming as well, especially when you've got like 1 out of almost 2 that are released from prison that end up back in prison. Tell folks who've never heard of Step Up what it does and how it's helping to change things.
Well, Lisa, thanks for the opportunity to be here to talk about my favorite topic, which is Step Up Incorporated. We are an agency that works pre-release. We have been in the institutions, state institutions, pre-release, and unfortunately COVID the last 2 years has prevented us, but we're now back in some of our local jails, which is where we also serve. And what we do is we provide information and classes on preparing individuals to be able to be released back to the community. It's a variety of subjects and topics, preparing them to make sure they have their IDs, their birth certificates, a place to stay, which I would say is one of the most difficult things for individuals coming back home. Even though they have counselors in the correctional facilities, sometimes they do not have the capability of having a family member will take them back. In some cases, a family member said, nope, I've cut him off. I've had enough. I do not want that person back home. So we work with them to get them housing. We work with them with supported services if they need health care, if they need assistance for employment, if they want to go back and get a GED, if they never got it in the institution, or if they want to get something in the workforce community where they're actually able to get some training. Some of the inmates come out with individuals coming back in already have some skills. We have a gentleman who is finished his electrician's program here in the area. He had 3 years on that program in the institution. He came back out, and we were able to hook him up with the community college. He finished that. He's an electrician today. He has bought his car. Nice. And has a place to live. So, I mean, there are successful people out there who've transitioned, and we have found our follow-up is intense. We follow up with people for 2 years to find out how successful they've been. We also have a program in Newport News, which is our serious and violent offender program. And these people have committed offenses such as robbery, or they had assault charges or whatever. They come to our special program through DOC. We don't make those referrals. Department of Corrections does. And those people really get handheld. They get a place to live and connects with family. We make sure the family's involved in this and all of our processes. And then they're able to get clothing or bus tickets. We all are able to do that within our program to kind of get them transitioned back. And we also talk about how difficult it's been when you're in the institution. And I think kind of like college, where everybody told you to get up in the morning, go get chow someplace, and go to your classes on a specific time. And then you're released. And then is there somebody there to tell you it's work day, get on the bus and get going? So we do a lot of transition work on that just to make sure people are geared up. We help them fill out applications, do resumes for them, whatever the person's specific supported services and needs are, we do.
You know, one of the things that I've encountered whenever I speak to someone that's a former inmate is, I'm trying to find a job. I can't find a job. If I allow my application and don't, disclose that I've been, locked up, then If they find out, they're going to fire me. So how are you addressing the whole help me find a job thing?
Well, actually, we work with individuals to see what their skills and abilities are, and we match them up with an employer who's been very successful with us and saying they would hire individuals. And they know the people that come from us usually have a record, and they know that some of them are very high-skilled folks who have really gotten good support and good services and education in the institution and training. And we tell people, be honest on when you sign up, because your past shall find you out. And so we ask everybody to do that. And some people don't. I've had somebody that came out and got a job, didn't tell the employer, and they did a background check, been there 6 months, and they said, sorry, you never told us this, and they let them go. We try to not interfere with the employer, but we try to go back sometimes to the employer and say, hey, this person's been a good person. Is there an issue because of maybe confidentiality or security issues that this person may not be able to be there? But overall, we ask people to do that. And we work with employers who are very sympathetic to hiring folks that we work with. And every day we open the door for another employer that's willing to say, hey, this guy got a job with me, or this woman got a job for me, and they're doing well, and I'm going to hire some more folks.
Wonderful. Now, you gentlemen, your program isn't just for kids.
No,
Okay.
it's not.
Go ahead.
So at this present moment, we are working with several organizations and universities, specifically ODU, and trying to get the help of Norfolk State. But
The connection is here. Okay.
and so before I go into that, I love the wave of people that we have here, because our process and our program is desired to be preventative, and instead of reactive. And the way that it's working is that there's a level of help somewhere in the process of these young people. But no, our program is not just one-sided for just the children. We actually are developing a program that has already been out that the city of Norfolk has done before, called the Nighthawks, the Norfolk Nighthawks.
I remember that.
And so the Norfolk Nighthawks was a midnight basketball open gym that young adults, male or female, were able to go to and be able to play basketball all night in a safe arena where they could just have fun, have a good time. Like you said, we're social. And so we have taken the idea of the Nighthawks and put a 2.0 spin on it. We want them to have a place where they can socialize, play basketball, be in their community, enjoy themselves in a nonviolent atmosphere. But also, if we can plug in enrichment programs that will help them enhance their quality of life, that is probably more important. So if I was to say that the basketball was the worm, the enrichment programs are the hook. And a lot of the programs that we're working on right now, we have a GED portion that goes into it, mental health piece that comes into it, financial literacy, legal aid and advice, understanding your rights, work enforce empowerment. And I'm so glad I met you all, because I'm gonna invite you all to come and be a part of the enrichment Saturdays too. So during the week, there would be open gym on Wednesday and Friday. Thank you. That's why you need your friend right there by you. On Tuesday and Thursday are the open gym days, and then Friday and Saturday are going to be game nights where the neighborhood leagues would play against each other. And then on Saturday morning, they would be infused into a enrichment program where they'll have different entrepreneurs that'll come and talk to them about how they came from out of their neighborhood and were able to become successful just by taking the little talent and gift that they had and a little bit of passion and making it happen. So I realized that if we're not impacting the young adults, then you're not really being effective with the youth, because these are their parents. And so there has to be a holistic answer to both sides of it. And so preventative also needs to be for the millennial and the Generation Z as well. And so that's really where we're going with the Nighthawks program. I'm so excited. Can I give a shout out real quick? I want to give we on the radio.
Right.
I want to give a shout out to Mr. Shivers at the Southside Boys and Girls Club, Miss Kim Thomas, Kim Thomas from NRHA, and Anthony Clary, who's doing the Rec League. He's a big piece of this. Ted Miller, and of course Danica Royster, who is the Super Ward 7 councilwoman. And so we have all been working vigorously to try and make this program, but not just for basketball, but for enrichment, so that there is follow through. And so that's the second half of it. Yep.
It takes a village.
It's going to take a village. Absolutely.
All righty. Now, if you're just joining us, we're looking at programs designed to combat some of the biggest problems facing the African American community today: teen violence, the high dropout rate among college students, and the alarmingly high number of inmates who, once released, return to prison. I'm Another View producer, Lisa Godley, and I'm joined by the executive director of the DNIMAS program at Norfolk State University, Dr. Aliecia McClain, the executive director of Step Up, Sandra Brandt, and the co-directors of a relatively new program called the Crown Project, which addresses teen violence, Reverend Primus Paige and Reverend Travis Barnes. And if you'd like to join the conversation, please give us a call at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I'm going to switch back over to Dr. McClain because you have some students that want to talk about how the DNIMAS program has changed their lives. Who are we talking to, Paul? Who? Clee Jones. Clee, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
All righty. Tell us all about your experience with the program and what's happening with your life right now.
Okay. Well, first, thanks for having me. I was a member of the second class of the DNIMAS program, and way back in the early 90s, well, actually 80s. Not to date myself, but yes. And I was African-American young man who had, I was from a large poor family, and we had zero money for college. And I remember being in probably in junior high, thinking about, I knew I wanted to go to college. I was always a very good student, and I knew I wanted to go to college, but I knew that my family didn't have money for it. And there was a little white kid that was in one of my classes, and he mentioned full scholarship. And I was like, what does that mean? He says, well, that means you get somebody to pay for all your college. And at that point, I was like, okay, well, that's the way I have to go. That's the only way. So I know I worked very hard. And then the recruiters from Norfolk State came for the DNIMAS program when I was a senior in high school. And it was a godsend because it was at the time it was a full scholarship. It is currently a partial scholarship now, but at the time it was a full scholarship. And I was interested in the sciences. I loved math. So one of the majors that was offered through the program was electrical engineering. So that's what I went toward. And many years later, through a long journey, I'm currently serving as one of the directors for the Federal Bureau of Investigation. An assistant section chief over about 450 people in our National Capital Region section. And I came by way of some private industry as an electrical engineer, and then I transitioned to the government as an electrical engineer, and then I just rose in the ranks. And I owe it all to DNIMAS because DNIMAS program, not only was it a full scholarship for me, but it was being able to be in an HBCU with gentlemen, African-American gentlemen, and females as well. I did meet my wife there as well. That's another story. But African-American gentlemen who are to this day, some of them still close friends of mine. And that experience at an HBCU and then at a program like DNIMAS where we basically were together, we lived together, we ate together, we studied together. And we had the support of the directors and the teachers there that helped us get through a very rigorous program. But it was just amazing that we were able to do that. I went on after that to graduate school to get my master's in electrical engineering from Penn State University, which, of course, is a predominantly white university. Mm-hmm. Big difference than Norfolk State University, but Norfolk State University gave me that foundation and the DNIMAS program. so that I could take on anything. And I was able to compete with students from not only from Penn State, from other colleges, some Ivy League schools that were there in graduate school, and I was able to compete with them with confidence. Again, it was rough, it was rigorous, but that foundation I had was incredible. And so, it's giving a chance, and DNIMAS gave me a chance, a poor kid who did not, first-generation college. Me and my sister were first-generation college from our families. Neither of my parents graduated high school. So it was a program like DNIMAS is invaluable, and I credit it to this day, to the point that I've stayed in contact with the program, to the point that I am now president of our alumni association at Norfolk State. DNIMAS has an alumni association. So I've been giving back to the program because as a poor kid, I know what it did for me. So my wife and I both, who I met in DNIMAS, we are very, very active, as Dr. McClain knows, with the program now, and making sure that the kids now are taken care of, and that we help them and try to help Dr. McClain make them successful as well. So I can't say enough. I can talk on and on and on about DNIMAS and about HBCUs and the value of them. But it's about giving kids a chance, especially young African-American males. It doesn't have to be, I could have gone the way of some of the other poor kids that I grew up with, but I chose not to. And I had this program that had to help me and guide me. So I think, I give credit to God first, and then the DNIMAS program, absolutely, for my career.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. What a wonderful story. We really appreciate you sharing that story with us. Dr. McClain, he said something that I thought was very interesting. He said they're all housed together.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about, I guess that's part of the structure.
Okay, so in 1985, under the leadership of Dr. Harrison B. Wilson, who was the president at that time, he came up with the idea of establishing the DNIMAS program at Norfolk State University. And what they established is that through best practices, they were thinking outside of the box, is that if you brought a group of students who were interested in going to becoming a doctor or engineer or pharmacist or getting their PhDs, if he could provide them the funding, would they be able to make it? So in order to get them away from all of the social activities and things of that nature, even from the first day, DNIMAS is the very first living and learning community in the state of Virginia. And so those students who matriculate in the DNIMAS program are required to live on campus in the residence hall. And right now they live in the honors residence hall, but there always been a designated place for this cohort of students. And so their roommates are always DeSort scholars. And so they take classes together, they study together, and as well as they live together. So it's building a sense of identity and belonging and ownership, with their academic learning and having resources at their fingertips, 24/7.
Okay, I think we have another student. Brandon?
Yes.
Hi, Brandon.
Hello.
Thank you for calling.
Glad to be here.
All right, so tell us about your DNIMAS experience and tell us what you're doing now.
Sure. So I am a graduate of Indian River High School, Principal Fry. He's a legend in the area. And so I was doing well in high school. I was number 7 in my class. And my story is a little different in some ways from Cleve, but the impact is no less important and profound. I was looking at Virginia Tech. I had a partial scholarship at Virginia Tech. I wanted to be an engineer. And but I heard amazing things about the DNIMAS program. And it was something I couldn't refuse when they offered a full scholarship before a ride. So being that I'm from the area, I thought I would go away from home. But DNIMAS Norfolk State was a home far enough away from home to be on campus, housed on campus, build new social networks, just kind of grow up and find yourself, find your way, but finding your way within a really safe, supportive environment so you don't make those really big mistakes along the way, right?
Gotcha.
And so I decided to major in physics at Norfolk State through the program, and I had amazing internship opportunities, as mentioned by Dr. McClain. So I had an internship in high-energy physics facility, Jefferson Labs in Newport News. That was my first internship doing research. Subsequently went to MIT for a couple of summers to work in their facility. So I had amazing opportunities to go to top-tier places to learn science. And so subsequently, I enrolled in applied physics PhD program at the University of Michigan. And while doing that, I completed my master's in electrical engineering here at University of Michigan. So I'm currently in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I now work for the University of Michigan doing exactly the type of work Dr. McClain is doing at Norfolk State and the work that has impacted me to this day, my family, I run programs, pipeline programs, focus my energy on programs that help diversify professions in healthcare. So the physician pathway, we're trying to get more doctors, trying to promote health equity. The COVID pandemic has illuminated very clearly the disparities in care between communities of color versus others. And so I am now taking that as my charge is to help do what DNIMAS did for me, to be a scientist by training, but use that training now to help find more physicians of color. And so I can echo what Clee said. It's transformative to be in a room, to have a roommate who's actually now Dr. Victor Clark. He's a local physician, and he was a chemist. He was a chemistry major. I had never been that close to another brother, right, who could outdo me in physics and math. And so Victor, iron sharpens iron, Victor being my roommate, challenged me to see myself differently and to make me better. And so that's what DNIMAS does. It lets you see the best of yourself, not what the media portrays. That was one that I think was impacted quite a bit more than I realized by the media images of what a black man is. And when I got to Norfolk State, I was surrounded by excellence, and they looked like me, and that's why I am where I am today.
Behold the green and gold. Thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your story. You've got to be happy to see these kind of graduates coming out of your program.
It's very exciting and warming, in the heart to know that they are going on to doing great in their careers. But Norfolk State is truly changing lives of students as well as their families and communities for which these students are going to, once they, reach their career goals. So it is, exciting, to know that this program exists here in the Hampton Roads area, and they are making changes to students of color.
Absolutely wonderful. I'm going to take a call now. Gabe Morgan is on the line. Sheriff of Newport News?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing, Lisa?
I'm good.
I'm going to give you a criticism and a compliment.
Uh-oh.
The criticism is you got nothing but South Side folks out on there. We're doing some things on the peninsula, too. So you're going to have to spread the love.
Well, Sandra says she works in your jail now.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes, she does. She's a great partner. She's participated in our reentry council for many years. And the reason I'm calling in is when you talk about reentry, I think we have a premier program. And I just want to give a plug. We get returning citizens employed in municipal jobs, the city of Newport News, the city of Hampton, and Newport News Waterworks. We have agreements with them, and they are taking our returning citizens when we are vetting them and bringing them to them and saying, hey, give them a good look. So we do reentry, not just if you're coming out of the Newport News jail. If you've ever been justice involved, and you need supportive services, you can come back to our facility, and our caseworkers will work with you. So if you're been justice involved, I don't care if it was 5 years ago and you fell off, we'll work with you because we understand that you may need some more help. So just want to give a shameless plug and let you know that, you know what, we're doing some things on the peninsula also.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sheriff. We really appreciate that. We absolutely do.
And I appreciate the program you have today, and just keep doing what y'all are doing. And Lisa, you're doing a good job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Okay.
Bye now.
Okay. Sandra, we talk a lot about everything, including the restoration of voting rights. Your program works with that as well.
Right, we do. And let me just say something. If we have the same similar situation, we were in the sheriff's jail for a long time with COVID. They did not let outsiders come in, but we're still working in his jurisdiction and with him and his the reentry council. In fact, I'm a co-chair on his council, on the council. And one of the things I want to say is our agency's been in business for 47 years. This coming October 1st.
Wow.
And so we must be doing something right. And Virginia is the number one. You talk about recidivism. Virginia is the number one state in the country for the lowest recidivism ever. Nice. And Department of Corrections uses that as their, when they actually take a look at who comes back to your state institutions. The issue is is that they may not be monitoring the number of people that came back to the local jails, which I think we need to take a look at. But restoration of voting rights has been an issue. Many of you may remember a woman's name by Senator Yvonne Miller. Mm-hmm. Senator Yvonne Miller and I, when she was in the House, it takes me back a ways, worked on restoration of voting rights. And one of the things that about 3 or 4 weeks before the senator passed away, she and I went to see her, and she said, "You got to carry this on, Sandra, because you and I have been working on restoration of voting rights along with Senator Mamie Locke, who put in this year the restoration of voting rights constitutional amendment to be put on the ballot this coming November." And in the state of Virginia, what you have to do is you have to have an election for the House of Delegates or the Senate, and then you have to have an intervening year, which there's no election, and then the next year there's an additional election. And then you can put it that year on the ballot. This year would have been our year that we could put it on the ballot. I sat through on a Friday morning at 9:30 with the Privileges and Elections Committee in the House of Delegates, where they passed to not have the constitutional amendment on the ballot, and the vote was 11-10. So, which was despicable that took us all this time and still having all this time to have people not have their automatic restoration of voting rights. Our agency works with that. We've worked with various projects over the years. We still work with people. I get a call probably every other day from somebody who said, "How do I get my voting rights back? And what do I need to do?" So, yeah, that's one of the big parts of things that I always talk about when we talk to people to get out of the institution. And some of them can automatically get them if they do not have any probation or parole hanging over their head. Then they're automatically getting information. They can call the 1-800 number and be able to get that information and get their name in, and then they can process it. Okay. Or they can call our agency, and we'll be glad to do that.
And I'm going to let you all, each of you, let everybody know your contact information in just a bit. I'm going to take a call, though. Heather from Virginia Beach. Thank you for calling Another View.
Yes, I'm calling with gratitude on this St. Patrick's Day. Slancha, may all be well with you, and hallelujah. I'm a former retired Reverend in the Presbyterian Church, and my father had worked with youth violence in an inner city, and what the gentleman was saying from the Crown Project about hope and exposure beyond what young people have known. So many children were within less than a mile from a beautiful beach, and they had never seen it. They were living in darkness, literally and figuratively, and he brought them to the beach, and their eyes were opened. People do not realize how limited so many young people's lives are, and he came from step family violence and alcoholism. He lived to be 95, but people were given a chance. And it is all these foundations, including voting rights and relationships and health and hope, and that you have a chance. And that STEM program at NSU, I'm just thrilled about. I wish I could take an enrichment course in that. And I am, and then of course Step Up, because there are many paths that people are forced to take. They don't have choices. And it is so important to give people second, third chances, the right to vote, to become a full citizen and not feel inhuman. And our criminal justice system is appalling. I am so thankful for this conversation. It gives me such hope. And as I said, hallelujah. And may all be well with you.
Thank you so much for calling, Heather. These programs are doing some amazing things. And I want to give each of you an opportunity, because I know we haven't touched on everything that your programs are doing. So I want to give you all an opportunity to share some of the things that your program does that we might not have touched on when we started this conversation. Anybody who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Yeah, so I want to kind of share some of the success data of the DNIMAS students at Norfolk State University. Since the inception of the program, the first graduating class, the graduation rate for those students is 73% in the 4-year period in STEM. And over 85% of those students have been accepted into graduate school and a professional school. And of that cohort of students, 76% of them have already received their master's, PhDs, MD degrees, and so forth. So the goal of the program is doing an amazing job of demystifying the idea that minority students cannot do well, in STEM, or not prepared enough to do well in math, science, engineering fields, and we've been able to successfully, hands down, do that at Norfolk State University for the last 35 years. So I'm very, very proud to make that statement, and to also let individuals know that students from high school that are interested in attending, the program, they must have a minimum of a 3.3 GPA, at least a 1200 on the SAT or 23 on the ACT, and, enrolled in some STEM classes, in the program.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Sandra?
Yes.
I know we haven't hit on everything this
No,
time.
I could go on for the whole program and the next day probably. I'd like to just say our catchment area, because I think that's important for people to know that we service all the way to the Eastern Shore, all the way over to Williamsburg, James City County, and in between Newport News, Hampton, Isle of Wight County, Southampton, Suffolk, Franklin, and of course our inner city areas, which are Norfolk and Virginia Beach and Portsmouth and Chesapeake. So we service those areas, and I think it's important for people to know that we start at age 18. So if someone's 18 years of age and has had any kind of offense, and we have had, as I think Sheriff Morgan mentioned, we've had people that have gotten a job like 5 years later, and for some reason they got laid off. It may have been COVID. It may have been whatever the reason is, and they can come back to us and get services that we have. So I think that's really important for people to know. And we also, today when I was walking out of my office, we're also working with DMV Connect to come to our office so that, we might be one of the sites that they come in to have people who need a DMV ID or, any kind of information, to try to get information on how to get a driver's license. And we hook up with a lot of the community, all of the workforce development programs, and we have a close relationship with Tabor Community College and others where we have programming where we've had people go into those programs and successfully gotten out and gotten jobs. And we're very proud of that. Even our violent and serious offenders have been individuals that we have seen grow, come home, get trained, get employed, and stay there, get an apartment, And I always say I ring a bell every day when somebody gets a job, because it's really, and the staff are like competing. I got 10 clients today, or I got this, and they're always competing. So we're really excited to be able to help people and to make sure that they have been successful in all that they do. And we're here if you got a problem and, you call up and you need some help. And we work a lot with substance abuse and mental health, which I think is really important these days, because a lot of people have dual diagnoses that we work with.
Now, I know you've had a lot of success stories, but I want you to share at least one before we wrap up today.
We had a gentleman, I have several on here on the sheet, but I brought along with me, no names, but this gentleman stayed 27 years in the institution, had such a positive attitude, took some courses on personal health and health issues, came out and got certified and as a personal health advisor, and is working with a series of individuals in a variety of health facilities to work with them on personal fitness, and he's turned himself around, and just such a positive attitude. And I think that's really important. And people buy houses and they're buying, cars and getting very successful in what they do. And I think attitude is a great piece of it. And I think the other thing is the major support that you have when you come out. And I think that's across the board for a lot of the agencies and organizations we work with. We're from social services to, anybody trying to get child support paid, we try to help with all that. So it's a lot of supported services that we provide or connect them to hopefully make sure that they're successful.
Nice. Gentlemen, anything you want to share about the Crown Project that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about today?
Absolutely. Before Reverend Primus gives us all the different ways to contact the benediction.
Got a long list.
Before he gives us the benediction, I think the greatest accomplishment that we have started and even somewhat completed parts of it is destroying the invisible line that separates neighborhoods, separates professionalism, separates churches and communities, and bringing it all together. I think the word that we used earlier was village. And we are understanding and building that mindset that it takes a village, not just to raise a young person or a youth, but to help bring the entire community up, no matter the color, no matter the age, no matter anything. But however, we come together to bring us up out of some dark places and to bring us into light. So I think that's our biggest accomplishment. Reverend Primus, you ready to take us home?
Yeah, I think we have about 3 minutes left, and I want each of you to take a minute to give folks your contact information and let them know how to find out more information about your programs.
Absolutely. And so to bounce off of what Travis said, I just want to let you all know that we're in the phase right now that anybody that would like to volunteer, I think the biggest piece that we have to regain is volunteering from out of the neighborhood, from any organization, because it's very important that we make a consistent impact with our community and ensure that we are not just sporadically doing things, but there is a continuous stream of resources and continuous stream of passion and love towards these youth and young adults. And so I'm just excited about where we're headed. And I think I've just gained 2 mentors right here sitting at the table.
Nice.
And so I've made a connection before the show was over.
Okay, good.
And so for anyone that wants to join and be a part of the Crown project, which means the community or Christian Recreation Outreach and Wellness Network project, you can email us at crownproject2021@gmail.com, and you just leave us your contact information and we will call you ASAP. You will receive a phone call from us probably that day.
Nice.
Because the struggle is still before us. And so we want to make sure that we are making a consistent impact.
All right, Dr. McClain, how do they reach you?
So reach me at Norfolk State University, you can reach me via phone at the DNIMAS office at 757-823-2511 or via email at amcclain@nsu.edu. And by the way, DNIMAS stands for the DeZort's National Institute for Mathematics and Applied Sciences Program. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
And I will say that Step Up Incorporated is actually stands for Skilled Training, Employment Placement, Upward Progress. And that's exactly what we do in our agency. You can contact us by our website, which is Step Up Incorporated, all spelled out, incorporated.org, or info@stepupincorporated.org. And our phone number is 757-588-3151. And I would suggest to make sure that after the second week in April, we now have to dial 757.
That's right.
So make sure that if it doesn't go through after about, I think, the second week in April, make sure you dial 757.
Yep. Wonderful. You all have been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your programs with our Another View audience. Lots of great information today. If you feel any of these programs might benefit you or someone you know, please reach out. You can find this podcast and all of our shows actually at anotherviewradio.org. And while you're there, please sign up for our eView newsletter, a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. We're also on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at Godley_Lisa. Next week, Barbara's back in the big chair with Another View on Health with her co-host, Dr. Keith Newby. Now, today's theme music was composed by Jay Sennett, and we love that song. It was especially written for Another View. A big thank you to Paul Bebo, who also graciously filled in for me today. Thank you so much. All right, Todd Washburn is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Lisa Godley. Thank you so much for spending your noonday hour with us, and be sure to join us again next Thursday at noon for Another View. Hey, and don't forget that free gas giveaway, April 2nd at the Exxon Tiger Mart, 5830 High Street, Portsmouth, Virginia, starting at 8 o'clock. You all have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Support comes from Thomas Nelson Community College, now becoming Virginia Peninsula Community College, the first choice to start a career. Gain skills in fields like cybersecurity and education. More at tncc.edu.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever. Whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.